Welcome. This is the talk specific to the Cognitive Science MSc, and I am Perdita Stevens. If you are watching these talks in the expected order, you've already heard me talk with my MSc course organiser hat on about the MSc in general. Now, you might, therefore, assume from this that cognitive science is my area. You would, I'm afraid, be quite wrong. We normally try to have these talks given by the degree programme coordinators, who are normally people who specialise in the area of the MSc concerned, but in fact I'm just standing in as the MSc Cognitive Science Programme Director. We hoped later on to have me replaced in this role by somebody who is a cognitive science specialist. For now, I should say, the fact that you've chosen to come here and do a cognitive science MSc rather strongly suggests that you may know more about cognitive science than I do. So I'm very grateful to my colleague Dr. Chris Lewis for these slides, which I have minimally adapted for this introduction. In terms of the subject-specific material and decisions that you'll need to take about your programme, you will probably need to rely especially on your personal tutors, who you will find know something about cognitive science. I know a lot more than you do probably about MScs at Edinburgh and how they run, and in particular I should know who to point you to if you have specific questions relating to cognitive science. But please bear with me if it turns out I don't know the answers myself. So our MSc in Cognitive Science, like all the other MScs, has its official rules specified in the DRPS, as we say, the degree programme tables within DRPS EDACUC. The easiest way to get to that is to Google DRPS Edinburgh. Always check you have the correct year, because you may well find that previous year's specifications are also available. If you then browse degree programme tables, you can go to your MSc in Cognitive Science, and that will give you the official complete rules about what courses you need to take as part of this MSc. The general structure is as described in the overall MSc introduction. You will have compulsory courses, Informatics Research Review, and, that's a typo, it should say Informatics Project Proposal, and you also will do a dissertation over the summer. Within this Cognitive Science MSc, you'll also take at least 40 points of cognitive science courses, and then you have quite a lot of flexibility with the remaining 60 points of taught courses. There are some constraints in what you can do, and those are laid out in the degree programme table. And in the handbook, the specific cognitive science page of the MSc handbook will also give you some advice on what you should consider taking under different circumstances. The high level is that you should always consider your interests and your prerequisites and try to get the appropriate balance of depth and breadth. So the cognitive science courses tend to fall into these three areas: cognitive science and neuroinformatics, natural language processing, and human-computer interaction and design. And what we recommend is that you study one or two of these in depth, and by that we mean that you take at least 2 courses from at least one of these areas. At the same time, you probably shouldn't try to take all your cognitive science courses from just one of these areas. You also want to get some kind of breadth in your programme. But these things are just rules of thumb. These are not part of the official rules. As I said, the official rules are what's shown in the degree programme table. Talk to your personal tutor about what makes sense for you specifically, and read the MSc handbook for some general advice. The rest of what I'm going to do is to go quickly through some of Chris's slides about the kind of things that appear in cognitive science. So it's all about thinking, remembering, acting, planning, seeing, speaking, learning, calculating, theorising, writing and deciding. And here we have some pictures of some people doing some of those things. We get some language-based things and some reasoning-based things and some more language things, both of children developing language and of adults. We get issues concerned with vision and with neuroscience. That's specifically the neuroscience of vision there, I think. We have a lot of stuff to do with representations, processes and computation. Some old computers, fictional computers, robotics. Some of these areas are the key points of cognitive science, which brings together study in a bunch of different areas, which is one of the things which is interesting about it as an interdisciplinary field. It involves neuroscience, computer science, linguistics, psychology and philosophy. So if we look at philosophy first of all, these are some of the themes that appear in cognitive science coming from philosophy. We talk about the relationships between mind and body and the nature of knowledge and the architecture of the mind. And you may find when you put together your program that you might want to take one or more courses, not just from informatics, but perhaps from other schools, and philosophy is one of the places you might want to look for those. And again, your personal tutor can advise. Embodied cognition, time and cognition, psychology, similarly, a discipline not wholly contained within informatics, but highly relevant for cognitive science. Those are the main themes. Kinds of things people do: eye tracking, electroencephalography. I'm sorry about the text having got hidden under the pictures. Again, some of these slides arrived at me in a form that wasn't where it wasn't possible for me to fix all of these things. Linguistics obviously connects with the natural language processing side of cognitive science as we see it in informatics, and we study those kinds of aspects of linguistics, as well as issues concerned with how people actually produce sound and how we synthesize speech from a representation, phonology, theoretical syntax, and so on and so forth. Computer science, of course, you're in an informatics school, you'd expect there to be lots of contribution from computer science to the discipline of cognitive science. We study computational and formal tools for understanding cognition, and that enables us to build tools and systems that mimic human abilities, or perhaps are informed by what we understand about human abilities, possibly even help us to understand human abilities better. Machine learning, extremely popular these days, robotics, machine vision, natural language processing. You'll find that even in this COVID year, in which not absolutely all of our usual courses are running, you've got a very large selection of courses that you can choose from. And that's how they all fit together. Edinburgh pioneered cognitive science. We had a cognitive science department many years ago before it merged with computer science and artificial intelligence and some other organisations into the School of Informatics, and we very much hope that our research will profoundly improve your experience of the discipline and set you up for an enjoyable career in the future. Thank you for listening. I will do my best to answer any questions, although I've already warned you that I might not be able to do so to such an extent as your questions concern cognitive science rather than the MSc. Let me know at that email address if I can help in any way. Thank you for listening.